The moment the judge read the final line of the will, the air in the room shifted, quiet, sharp, and heavy enough to crush bone. Ava Mercer sat perfectly still, her expression unreadable, while across the table her billionaire ex-fiancé went pale. Tristan Hale had walked into the courthouse expecting praise, inheritance, and power. Instead, the judge's voice cut through him like a scalpel. "The entirety of Mr. Mercer's estate goes to his daughter, Ava Mercer," she said. Mr. Hale receives the evidence. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The word hung there, evidence thick as smoke. Tristan turned his head very slowly, as if it physically hurt, and stared at Ava. He'd chosen a navy suit, the exact shade that photographed well, his dark hair perfectly styled, his cufflinks heavy and subtle. He looked like every magazine cover he'd ever dominated except for his eyes. They were wide and afraid. "That can't be right," he said, his voice cracking in the middle. "There must be a mistake. Miles, Mr. Mercer, would never cut me out. We were partners." The judge adjusted her glasses with calm precision. The mahogany-paneled conference room seemed to close in around them. The only sound was the muted hum of the city beyond the tall windows. "You were his future son-in-law, Mr. Hale," she replied. "A role that, I understand, you no longer occupy. You were never his legal partner in any capacity." She nodded toward the cream envelope resting near her hand. "However, the deceased left specific instructions regarding you. The documents inside that envelope are addressed in your name." Ava's hands rested lightly on the armrests of her chair, fingers relaxed, shoulders back. From a distance, she appeared calm. Only the tiniest tension in her jaw betrayed that she was holding on by threads. Her father had been dead 10 days. The funeral had felt like someone else's event, all black suits and formal condolences, and people speaking in hushed tones about a man they'd only known on paper. Today felt different. Today felt like truth. "Evidence of what?" Tristan demanded. "That will be for you to discover," the judge said. "As per Mr. Mercer's instructions, you are to open it here, in Ms. Mercer's presence." The envelope slid across the polished wood with a soft, lethal whisper. The room smelled of old paper, expensive cologne, and winter coats drying near the door. Ava didn't reach for anything. She watched. Tristan stared at the envelope for a long, frozen second. The man who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals and charmed hostile boards now seemed genuinely unsure whether to touch a single sheet of paper. Then he snatched it up, tore at the seal with shaking hands, and pulled out the contents. Several pages fanned out, bank statements, printed emails, screenshots. One slipped loose and fluttered face up onto the table between them. From where Ava sat, she could clearly read the bolded phrase, highlighted in yellow, the exact shade her father had always used. "Wire transfer, shell account, unauthorized." A pulse jumped in her throat. Another sheet slid partially free. This one wasn't from a bank. Grainy security camera footage showed Tristan's profile in black and white, the angles of his face unmistakable. He was alone in Miles Mercer's private home office. The timestamp, 2:13 a.m. On a night Ava knew her father had been out of the country. The color drained from Tristan's face. For a moment, it looked like the blood simply abandoned him. "This is no," he whispered. "No, he's twisting this. I was helping him. These transfers, they were part of restructuring. He knew, he told me to." The judge's gaze remained neutral. "I have not reviewed the material in detail, Mr. Hale. I can only tell you that Mr. Mercer appeared very clear-minded when he drafted his will and the accompanying documents." Something else slid from the envelope, a single folded page with her father's handwriting on the outside. Tristan stared at his name, written in those neat, controlled strokes. The hand of a man who'd never wasted ink or breath. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Ava saw his eyes move left to right, faster than slow. His throat worked. The muscles in his jaw twitched. He dropped the letter. It fell near her. For a second, no one reached for it. Then Ava extended her hand, fingers steady now, and picked it up. The message was short. "Tristan, you stole from my company. You lied to my daughter. You tried to sabotage my final project. I do not forgive you. I do not need revenge. If you come near her again, the material in this envelope will go to the authorities, the press, and the board. You made your choices. Now you live with the evidence. Miles Mercer." Ava read it twice, the words burning themselves into her memory. Her father had never been a man of sentiment. Even his last words on paper carried the same clinical precision he'd brought to every acquisition. No wasted language, no emotional padding. Yet buried inside the coldness was something oddly protective. He hadn't written that letter for himself. He'd written it for her. "You know this isn't the whole story," Tristan said hoarsely. Ava lifted her gaze. His pupils were blown wide. His tie sat crooked against his throat. The smooth, curated image of Tristan Hale, the visionary, the innovator, the charming future of tech poster boy, was cracking. "My father rarely told half a story," she said quietly. "He hated the project I was working on with him." Tristan shot back. He was going to tank it to prove a point. "I moved money because he was acting irrational. He was putting his legacy at risk. I was trying to save him from himself." The judge cleared her throat. "Mr. Hale, any disputes about the accuracy of those documents will need to be taken up in the appropriate legal arena. For the purposes of today's session, we are simply executing Mr. Mercer's wishes." Ava sat very still, the letter still in her hand. She remembered 6 months ago, standing in a penthouse bedroom with floor-to-ceiling glass, staring at a woman she'd never seen before slipping her dress over bare shoulders. She remembered the way Tristan had said, "It was a mistake," as if that excused anything. She remembered packing her suitcase while he watched, promising he would fix it, that they were bigger than one night, that she was overreacting. She remembered the ring on the coffee table, small and suddenly heavy, as she walked out of his life. She thought then that she'd seen the worst of him. Apparently not. The judge moved briskly through the rest of the document. Properties, corporate shares, foundations, staggering numbers spoken in calm legal tones. Everything Miles Mercer had built over 30 years, companies, real estate, patents, investments, now belonged on paper to Ava. She initialed where sticky notes told her to. Signed her name so many times the letters blurred. Tristan didn't sign anything. He just sat there, staring at the pile of incriminating paper as if it might sink its teeth into him. When the final signature dried, the judge stacked the folders neatly. "Ms. Mercer," she said, "there is one more item. Your father left an additional envelope addressed only to you. It is not part of the will itself, but he was very specific about its delivery." She reached into a locked drawer and pulled out a smaller, flat envelope. No wax seal this time, just Ava's name in ink. Ava took it slowly. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Behind her, Tristan finally stirred. "Ava," he said. She turned. Up close, the cracks in him were more obvious. His hair had lost its perfect styling. His eyes were bloodshot. The charming half-smile he'd used to disarm hostile investors was nowhere to be seen. "I didn't kill him," he said. "Whatever that says, whatever he implied, I didn't. You have to believe me." There was a time she would have. That time was buried with her father. "I don't have to believe anything about you anymore," she replied, her tone cool. "That's the point." For an instant, something ugly flashed across his face. Resentment, entitlement, pure disbelief that she wasn't folding around him like always. Then it was gone, buried under a brittle composure. "You have no idea what you're inheriting," he murmured. "Your father wasn't the saint everyone pretended he was. You think you've won today. You've just stepped into something you're not prepared for." "Is that a threat, Mr. Hale?" the judge asked sharply. "It's a warning," he said, never taking his eyes off Ava. "And for once, I'm not the most dangerous man in your orbit." A cold unease slid down her spine. But she refused to show it. "Goodbye, Tristan," she said simply. She stood, gathering the envelope with her name and the weight of a man's empire in a folder tucked under her arm. Without another glance back, she walked out of the conference room. The door clicked shut behind her with a soft finality. In the hallway, the world felt slightly tilted. The courthouse lights were too bright, the polished floors too reflective, her own face a stranger in the gleaming surfaces. Outside, winter pressed against the glass doors. When she stepped through them, the cold hit her lungs like ice water. Snowflakes drifted down in lazy spirals, settling on her dark coat. The city roared around her, traffic, distant sirens, the collective heartbeat of millions of lives that hadn't changed today. Hers had. On the courthouse steps, under the gray sky, Ava opened the second envelope. Inside were 3 things: a letter, a plain black key card, and a black business card with a single name and number embossed in silver. Ronan Black. No title, no firm, no logo, just a name. She unfolded the letter. "Ava, if you are reading this, I am gone, and the people who wanted that are celebrating. They are wrong. You now own everything they wanted. You also own every problem that comes with it. Tristan is a thief and a coward, but he is not the worst of them. The evidence I left for him is leverage. Nothing more. The real danger lies with the men behind him. The key card is for my off-book office. The one no one knows about. Not the board, not Tristan, not my partner. You will find what you need there, but not alone. Call Ronan Black before you go. He does not work for you. He works for the truth. For now, that's close enough. Trust him more than you trust anyone else. I'm sorry. I should have brought you into this sooner. I thought I had more time. Dad. Ava read it once. Then again. Some daughters inherited jewels and summer houses. She had inherited a fortune, a file full of weaponized evidence, and a warning that sounded a lot like a threat from beyond the grave. Snow settled on her hair and melted against the heat of her skin. Around her, people hurried past, wrapped in scarves and lives that did not include secret offices and men named Ronan Black. She glanced down at the business card again. She had no idea who he was. But her father had trusted almost no one. And he'd written, "Trust him more than you trust anyone else." Her phone felt heavy in her hand as she typed the number. It rang once. Twice. A low, rough voice answered. "Black. Ava Mercer," she said. "My father Miles told me to call you. In case he died." There was a pause. Not surprise, just a brief, sharp silence. "Where are you?" the voice asked. "Courthouse steps." "I'm 10 minutes away," he said. "Stay where you are. Don't talk to anyone you don't know. And whatever Tristan Hale said to you in there, assume half of it was self-preservation and the other half was fear." The line clicked dead. Ava lowered the phone slowly. The wind picked up, tugging at her coat, stinging her face. Somewhere behind her, high above, in a sealed room of glass and wood, Tristan Hale sat alone with his envelope of sins. For the first time since she'd seen her father's casket lowered into the ground, Ava felt something that wasn't numbness. It was not relief. It was not grief. It was the sharp, electric awareness of standing at the edge of something vast and dangerous. She had 10 minutes until Ronan Black arrived. 10 minutes as the old version of herself. Then, ready or not, her father's war would become hers. Before the inheritance, before the courtroom, before the world began circling her like vultures scenting blood, she had already learned what it meant to be alone in a house full of secrets. Long before her father died, the distance between them had already begun. She grew up in a home where silence carried more weight than words. The walls of the estate were filled with polished floors and expensive art, but warmth had always been in short supply. Her father, powerful, brilliant, undeniably distant, loved her, but never quite knew how to show it. He had built an empire on precision and caution, and sometimes he treated her no differently than a delicate asset that needed to be protected by staying uninformed. Her mother had died when she was 8, leaving behind a scent of lavender on her pillow and a grief her father never spoke of. After that loss, he became a fortress. Every question she asked about their family, every attempt to understand the shadows that lived behind his eyes, was met with the same phrase. "You're safer not knowing." And so she stopped asking. But she never forgot. She grew up watching her father entertain powerful people, business partners, politicians, old allies from a world she wasn't allowed to see. Some of them smiled too much. Some of them never smiled at all. They all looked at her with the same assessing gaze, as if measuring her potential usefulness someday. It taught her early that trust had a price, and that in her family it was never free. At 15, she overheard her father in a heated argument behind closed doors. She remembers the exact sentence that froze the air in her lungs. "If anything happens to me, she must not fall into their hands." She didn't know who they were. She didn't know what danger her father lived beside. But she understood fear for the first time, his fear. That was also the year her father hired someone he introduced only as security, though she quickly realized he was nothing of the sort. He was trained, silent, always watching the windows, the gates, the unseen corners of a room. He wasn't a bodyguard. He was the kind of man families hired when bodyguards were not enough. For reasons she never understood then, he paid close attention to her. Not in a soft or paternal way, but with a protective intensity that made her skin prickle. As if he had been given a responsibility he took personally. Her father trusted him with everything he didn't trust anyone else with. And quietly she trusted him too. Years passed. She grew older, smarter, more aware of the fractures running through her family legacy. She felt the eyes of enemies she didn't know watching from a distance she couldn't measure. So when her father died, and the will summoned the very people he feared most, she wasn't surprised. But she wasn't ready either. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was the final chapter of secrets he never managed to explain, and the beginning of the danger he always told her would come. Snow gathered along the courthouse steps by the time a matte black SUV pulled up to the curb. It didn't idle. It simply arrived, quiet and deliberate, like a shadow that had decided to take physical form. Ava didn't move. She didn't know what she expected Ronan Black to look like. Her father's letter hadn't given descriptions, only warnings, but she hadn't expected the man who stepped out of the driver's side. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in an understated black coat. No branding, no shine, no attempt to impress. His presence alone did that. His movements were controlled, efficient, the kind of efficiency forged from training, not ego. Dark hair cut close, clean-shaven, eyes that scanned everything in a single sweep. Not a businessman, not a bodyguard, something in between, something more dangerous. His gaze locked on her within seconds. He approached without hesitation, boots crunching through snow. When he stopped in front of her, the city noise faded under the weight of his silence. "Ava Mercer," he said. It wasn't a question. She nodded once. "You're Ronan." His eyes flicked to the envelope under her arm. "You read the letter." "I did." "Then you understand you shouldn't be standing out here alone." A flare of defensiveness pierced through the cold. "I don't need protection." His expression didn't shift. "I didn't say you did. I said you shouldn't be alone." Something in the way he said it silenced any argument she'd been forming. Ronan Black didn't speak like a man trying to dominate. He spoke like a man who had already assessed 12 threats she couldn't see and categorized each one by how easily he could neutralize it. He tilted his head slightly, studying her more closely now. "You look like him," he murmured. "The eyes. The way you stand." A strange ache rose in her throat, sudden and sharp. She didn't respond. Ronan stepped back, motioning to the SUV. "We need to go. The longer you linger here, the easier it is for the wrong people to triangulate." A chill that had nothing to do with winter crawled over her skin. "You think someone will come after me? This fast?" "Not yet," he said. "But they'll start watching. It's what I would do." She swallowed. "And who exactly are they?" For the first time, Ronan hesitated, as if measuring how much truth she could absorb without breaking. "The men your father spent the last 2 years trying to cut out of his dealings," he said quietly. "The ones who have more to lose now that you own everything." A horn blared somewhere behind them. A rush of cold wind lifted the ends of her hair. Normal sounds. Normal city chaos. But the air felt different, charged, like a radio tuned to static no one else could hear. Ava tightened her grip on the envelope. "Where are we going?" "To the office your father mentioned," he said. "Before anyone else realizes it exists." Ronan opened the passenger door for her. Not politely, strategically. Placing himself between her and the street. Shielding her without making a show of it. She slid inside, the heat of the vehicle wrapping around her as the door closed. He rounded the front, slid behind the wheel, and pulled the SUV into traffic with the same controlled ease he carried everywhere else. For several blocks, neither of them spoke. The city blurred past, gray and sharp. Snow drifted across intersections, melting on the windshield before the wipers swept it away. Finally, Ava exhaled. "My father trusted you." Ronan's hands tightened almost imperceptibly on the wheel. "He did." "Why?" "Because he paid attention," he said. "Something most powerful men forget to do." She studied his profile. Stillness carved into human form. A man who didn't blink unless he needed to. "And what were you to him?" she asked. "Security? Intelligence? Something else?" He didn't look at her. "A necessity. Not an answer." "Not yet." She let the silence stretch. When she finally spoke again, her voice was quieter. "He didn't tell me anything. Not about enemies. Not about whatever this is." Ronan nodded. "He planned to. He just waited too long." A knot formed in her chest. "You sound like you knew him well." His jaw flicked. "Well enough to know he made mistakes, including keeping you at a distance." Ava looked down at her hands, small, bare, cold despite the warmth of the car. "I think he was trying to protect me," she whispered. Ronan glanced at her then. Really glanced. A brief but piercing look that saw more than she wanted anyone to see. "He was," Ronan said. "But protection becomes isolation when you aren't given truth. That was his flaw, not yours." The words hit harder than she expected. She turned toward the window, hiding the sharp sting in her eyes. They drove another 10 minutes before Ronan spoke again, this time more deliberately. "There's something you should know about Tristan Hale." Her stomach tightened. "I'm listening." "He didn't just betray you," Ronan said. "He betrayed your father. The evidence your father left, it's only half the story." "And the other half?" "Why he did it," Ronan said. "And who told him to?" A jolt of alarm shot through her. You're saying someone used Tristan to get to my father. I'm saying Tristan wasn't smart enough to orchestrate this on his own. Ronan's gaze hardened. And the people who were smart enough aren't done. Her breath caught. You think my father's death wasn't natural? Ronan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The SUV turned down a quiet side street lined with shuttered storefronts and snow-dusted awnings. Ronan killed the lights but kept the engine running, scanning the street with quick, precise movements. This is it, he said. His off-book office. A small, unmarked building sat wedged between an abandoned cafe and a boarded-up pharmacy. No signs. No windows. No indication anyone had used it in years. Ava stared at it, dread settling in her bones. This is where the answers are? No, Ronan said softly. This is where the questions get bigger. He stepped out, came around to her door, and opened it. Snow fell in quiet sheets, muffling the world. Ava stepped into the cold. Her boots crunched on the pavement. Her breath rose in white clouds. She stared at the nondescript door, the key card heavy in her coat pocket. Somewhere beneath the fear, something else stirred. Resolve. She looked up at Ronan. Stay close. He nodded once. Always. She moved toward the door, slid the key card through the reader. A soft click echoed in the stillness. The lock disengaged. Ava pushed the door open. The lights flickered on automatically. And then she froze. The office wasn't empty. A man lay slumped over a desk at the center of the room, motionless, pale, and unmistakably dead. Ronan's hand shot out, gripping her arm, pulling her back before she could step farther inside. Ava, he murmured, voice low, controlled, lethal, don't move. Her pulse hammered. The dead man's hand was curled around a folder. Her father's initials were written on the tab. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, Ava Mercer's inherited war had just turned fatal. The smell hit first, cold air, dust, and something metallic drifting through the room like a ghost that refused to leave. Ronan's grip tightened on Ava's arm as he scanned every corner, every shadow, every possible exit route. His body shifted subtly, placing himself between her and the corpse as if his instincts acted before thought. This wasn't recent, he murmured. His voice dropped into a tone she hadn't heard from him yet, clinical, dangerous, and stripped of everything except purpose. But it wasn't long ago either. Ava forced herself to breathe evenly, though her pulse hammered in her ears. The dead man was middle-aged, wearing a suit wrinkled as if he'd slept in it. His head rested on the desk at an unnatural angle, eyes dull and half open. One hand still clutched the folder with her father's initials. What? Who is he? She whispered. Ronan didn't answer immediately. He didn't glance at her. His attention remained fixed on the room as he moved with slow, deliberate steps, sweeping for threats. Finally, he crouched beside the body, careful not to disturb anything beyond visual inspection. I know him, Ronan said. Name's Daniel Price. Your father's forensic accountant. Brilliant. Paranoid in a useful way. Miles trusted him with the paper trail no one else could see. Ava's stomach twisted. So he worked for my father. He worked for the truth, Ronan corrected. And people like that don't die of natural causes in locked offices. She swallowed hard, glancing around. The office was small, far smaller than she expected from anything tied to her father. One desk, 2 filing cabinets, a single lamp, white boards filled with scribbled timelines, numbers, and arrows crisscrossing names and dates. Her father's handwriting was mixed with another's, tighter and more chaotic. Do you think, Ava's voice wavered, do you think he was killed because of my father? Ronan rose slowly to his feet. Price's death isn't a maybe. It's a choice someone made. And if he was working this close to your father's dealings, then yes. It's connected. A cold wave rolled through her, heavy and paralyzing. My father knew something. Something worth killing for. He didn't just know something, Ronan said. He was preparing something. He nodded toward the whiteboard closest to the desk. Ava stepped forward slowly, her shoes crunching lightly on broken glass she hadn't noticed. Someone had smashed a small window pane in the back of the room, likely on their way out. Names covered the board. Not just Tristan's. Names she recognized from business news. Names tied to real estate, tech, politics, banking. Next to each name was a number. Some had arrows linking them to shell companies. Others had question marks and dates. Ava's chest tightened. He was building a case. He was building an indictment, Ronan said. Or a war chest. Hard to tell which. Ava turned to him. Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't he tell anyone? Ronan met her gaze for a long moment. Because Miles Mercer didn't trust anyone. Not truly. Except maybe Price. His jaw tensed. And now Price is dead. He walked toward the desk and lifted the man's limp hand away from the folder. He didn't open it yet. He simply held it, weighing it, reading the edges as if they held clues. Is your phone on? Ronan asked suddenly. Ava blinked. What? Yes. Turn it off. Why? Every person in your father's orbit, every rival, every partner, every quiet enemy, will want to know where you are now that he's gone. That envelope you received made you a target. This, he nodded toward the dead man, confirms it. Her throat tightened as she powered down her phone. He waited until he heard the shutdown chime, then nodded. Rule 1, he said. You assume every device can be tracked. Rule 2, assume every enemy your father had is now yours. Rule 3, he paused, studying her expression. You don't go anywhere without me until I know who ordered this. Ava felt the words settle over her, not dominance, not pressure, but the cold logic of survival. I don't need a bodyguard, she said softly, though the ground beneath her felt less and less solid. Ronan stepped closer. Not threatening, grounding. You don't have one, he said. You have me. There's a difference. Before she could respond, the office door creaked. Ava froze. Ronan reacted first, silent, swift, one hand gripping her elbow and pulling her behind him while the other slid beneath his coat, retrieving something she couldn't see. Footsteps approached the threshold. A silhouette shifted against the frosted glass. Ava's breath stilled in her lungs. The doorknob turned. Ronan's body went rigid, muscles tightening in a single lethal line. Ava Mercer? A voice called through the door, muffled but calm. Are you in there? We need to speak with you. Ava's eyes widened. Ronan leaned just enough to whisper, Don't answer. The voice continued, firmer now. Ms. Mercer, this is Detective Klein. We have questions about an emergency call that originated from this location. An emergency call? Ava shot Ronan a confused look. He shook his head. That's a lie, he mouthed. The doorknob jiggled again, harder this time. Ms. Mercer, we know you're inside. Open the door. Ava's heart slammed against her ribs. The room felt smaller. The corpse on the desk was suddenly suffocating in its presence. Ronan, she whispered, what do we do? He didn't blink. We leave, he said. Through the front door? She whispered, incredulous. No. He nodded toward the small broken window at the back, barely large enough for a person, but just enough. Her breath caught. You're serious? He moved quickly, quietly, one hand already clearing the scattered papers from the sill. Unless you want to explain a corpse, your father's secret office, and why half the city's elite are about to hunt you, Ronan murmured. Then yes. The pounding on the door grew louder. Ava Mercer, the voice barked. Open this door immediately. Ronan met her eyes. Do you trust me? He asked. She exhaled shakily. I don't know you. You will, he said. But right now you don't need trust. You need survival. Move. He lifted her toward the window. Behind them, the door hinges groaned. Now Ava. She climbed onto the sill as Ronan steadied her. The door burst open. Ava slipped into the cold as the room exploded behind her. Snow swallowed Ava whole as she slipped through the narrow window, her boots hitting the icy alley behind the building with a jolt that shot straight up her spine. The cold slammed into her lungs, sharp and merciless. Her breath fogged instantly in the bitter air. Ronan landed beside her a split second later, silent, controlled, barely disturbing the snow beneath him. He didn't look back at the shattered window they'd escaped through. He didn't need to. Every muscle in his body was already angled forward, calculating the next move. Inside the office they'd just abandoned, voices rose in harsh, overlapping commands. Boots scraped on the floor. Someone barked orders. Something heavy crashed over, the desk, maybe. They'd found the body. Move, Ronan said under his breath. He caught Ava's wrist, not roughly, just enough to guide her, and pulled her deeper into the alley. His grip was warm against the freezing air, grounding her as adrenaline roared through her bloodstream. Ava stumbled after him, her boots slipping on slick asphalt. Who were they? Not police, Ronan said. He didn't turn around. He didn't slow. Real detectives don't kick in doors without a warrant, and they don't lie about emergency calls. Then who? People who don't want you finding whatever your father left behind. Ava's pulse thudded hard. They knew I'd come? They knew someone would, Ronan corrected. If not today, then soon. The timing means they were already watching the office. Snow clung to her hair, melted down the collar of her coat, froze again on her skin. She felt the cold, felt the fear, but beneath them both she felt a darker sensation. Anger. Her father had secrets. Powerful ones. Dangerous ones. And someone was desperate enough to kill his accountant to bury them. How long has this been going on? She managed. Ronan didn't answer immediately. They reached the mouth of the alley, but he paused, flattening her back against the brick wall with one arm across her core as he scanned the street. Cars rolled by. A bus hissed to a stop. People hurried along sidewalks, heads bowed against the wind, unaware of the danger lurking in the buildings around them. When Ronan finally spoke, his voice was low. Longer than you'd want to know. Your father made enemies. Quiet ones. The kind that don't threaten, don't bluster, just act. And he didn't tell me, Ava whispered. He thought he was protecting you, Ronan said. He underestimated how fast this would escalate. She absorbed that in silence. Ronan lifted his hand from her waist, but kept his body angled in front of hers as he scanned the street once more. Then, with a short nod, he tucked her close and guided her across the sidewalk toward the SUV parked half a block away. Everything felt unreal. The dead accountant. The break-in. The fake detectives. The chase through snow and shadows. But the cold air kept her conscious. Awake. Razor-sharp. When they reached the SUV, Ronan didn't put her inside immediately. Instead, he circled the vehicle once, checking the doors, the ground, the tailpipe, the wheel wells. Only when he was satisfied did he open the passenger door. Get in, he said. Ava slid into the seat. Her breath fogged the inside of the windshield. Her hands shook as she fumbled with her seat belt. Ronan slid into the driver's side. Don't turn your phone on, he reminded her. I won't. He started the engine. Not with urgency, just with the quiet efficiency that marked every movement he made. The SUV pulled into traffic, and Ava finally spoke. Ronan, she said, her voice raw. If Daniel Price was killed, if someone was there before us, does that mean they know I have the key card? Yes. Does it mean they know about the will? Yes. Does it mean they know I'm the heir now? He glanced at her. That's the part they're most interested in. Her blood ran cold. Why? Because whoever killed your father's accountant, Ronan said softly, didn't want Miles Mercer dead. Ava turned toward him sharply. Then who did they want dead? His jaw tightened. You, he said. The air left her lungs in a single shock. Ronan continued driving, his tone calm, solid, as if the truth didn't shake him the way it shook her. Your father didn't die for betrayal, he said. He died because he sent you away from his world. Because you weren't supposed to inherit anything. Someone expected to take control once he was gone. Someone who wasn't you. Her fingers curled slowly against her thighs. And now I'm in the way. You're the biggest obstacle, Ronan said. Because you don't know the rules of the game yet. And in high-stakes worlds like your father's, unpredictability is the most dangerous variable. Ava stared out the window. The city blurred into streaks of gray and white. So what happens now? She asked. Ronan hesitated. A beat. Then another. Then he said something that made her break into a cold sweat. We disappear. Ava turned toward him. Disappear? For now, he said. Until I contact the people I need and gather information your father kept off the books. Where will we go? A safe location. Another block passed in silence. Is it legal? She asked. Ronan didn't answer quickly. It's safe. That was not an answer. Ava exhaled slowly. She didn't want this. She didn't choose this. But she wasn't naive. A dead accountant was not an accident. The fake detectives were not a coincidence. Someone wanted her out of the picture. Ronan, she said quietly, what was my father working on? Ronan's fingers flexed on the steering wheel. And then he said the last thing she expected. He was investigating a man, he said. A man who controlled 5 shell companies, laundered millions, and bought influence in places the public never sees. Who? Ronan's eyes remained on the road. Your father's business partner, he said. Elias Crane. Ava went still. But they'd known each other for years, she said. Crane practically lived at my house growing up. He was at birthdays. Award ceremonies. He used your father, Ronan said. And when Miles found out, Crane realized killing your father wouldn't fix the problem. Because the board would never trust him with the company if the heir was still alive. Ava's stomach dropped. So Crane planned to kill me too. Crane doesn't plan, Ronan said. He delegates. That's worse. Ava closed her eyes for a moment, letting the truth settle like ice in her chest. Her father wasn't paranoid. He was hunted. And now she was next. Ronan made a sudden turn, heading toward a quieter part of the city. We're almost there, he said. To the safe location? No. He glanced at her briefly. To someone who owes your father a favor. Ava frowned. Who? Ronan didn't answer until he pulled into an underground parking garage, killed the engine, and turned to her fully. His eyes were sharper than before. Darker. Someone who can tell us why Daniel Price was killed before we got there. Ava's breath caught. You mean someone who knows about the murder? Someone who witnessed it, Ronan said. And someone Crane will kill next. He opened his door. Stay behind me. No matter what. Ava followed him out into the dim garage, her breath echoing in the cold. Ronan led her toward a secluded storage corridor. At the end of the hall, a metal door waited, dented, scratched, and locked. Ronan knocked once. Twice. A pattern. The peephole slid open. Terrified, I stared out at them. You're late, the person inside whispered. Ronan's tone sharpened. Open the door. The locks clicked. The door creaked. Ava stepped inside. Her world shifted again. Because standing in the middle of the dim storage room, shaking, pale, and very much alive, was Tristan Hale's personal assistant. And she was covered in Daniel Price's blood. The woman stood in the center of the dim concrete room, trembling so hard her knees nearly buckled. Her coat was smeared with dried, darkened blood, blotches across the sleeves, streaks down the front, spatter on her collar. Her face was almost as pale as the fluorescent light flickering overhead. Ava recognized her immediately. Lena Morrow, Tristan's personal assistant. Quiet, meticulous, always in the background, always 2 steps behind him with a tablet, a calm reminder, a discreet nudge. Now she looked nothing like the polished professional Ava remembered. Her mascara had run down her cheeks. Her bun had fallen apart. She was holding herself together only by gripping her elbows, so tightly her fingers dug into her own skin. Ava's stomach twisted. Lena? Lena flinched at the sound of her own name, startled like a hunted animal. Ronan stepped in front of Ava instinctively, blocking her from full view, but Ava moved slightly to the side. She needed to see Lena's face. I didn't know where else to go, Lena whispered. Her voice cracked painfully. Ronan, you said that if anything ever went wrong with Miles, if things escalated, I should contact you. Ava's breath stilled. Lena had known Ronan? Ronan's expression hardened, but his voice stayed level. Tell me what happened. Lena choked on a breath. I didn't mean to be there. I swear. Tristan told me to deliver a packet to Daniel Price at the off-book office. I didn't know why. I didn't know. Her eyes filled again. I walked in and he was already dead. Ava's pulse thudded in her ears. Already? So you didn't? No. Lena's cry echoed off the concrete. She clamped a hand over her mouth, horrified at her own volume. Tears spilled over her knuckles. No, Ava, I would never. Daniel had always been kind to me. He warned me once, when I asked too many questions about Hale Global's accounts. He said some things weren't safe to touch. Ronan stepped forward, his tone tight. Lena, focus. You walked in and saw the body. Then what? Her legs shook so badly, she had to lean against a stack of paint cans. There were 2 men, already in the office. They didn't see me at first. I think they expected Daniel to be alone. But one of them turned and I panicked. I ran. Ronan's jaw flexed. Did they chase you? Lena nodded violently. One of them. The tall one. He chased me down the hallway, and I tripped. I got blood on me when I fell against Daniel. Her voice broke again. I think the other man stayed behind to look for something. To remove evidence, Ronan muttered. Or plant something. Ava's mind raced. Did you see their faces? Anything identifiable? I saw. Lena squeezed her eyes shut. One had a tattoo. On his right wrist. A black triangle with 3 lines through it. Ronan stilled. Ava immediately noticed. You recognize it? Ronan didn't answer her. His focus stayed locked on Lena. That symbol, are you absolutely sure? Yes, Lena whispered. I used to see it around Hale Global sometimes. Not often. On certain contractors. Tristan didn't like anyone asking about them. Ava's blood ran cold. So Tristan is involved. Lena shook her head frantically. I don't know. I swear I don't know. Tristan told me to make the delivery and leave. But those men, they weren't his usual contractors. They moved like, she looked at Ronan, like people you would know. Ronan's silence was answer enough. Ava stepped closer. Lena, look at me. Lena lifted her face, eyes red and terrified. You came here because you trusted Ronan, Ava said softly. Why? Why did my father tell you that? Lena's lip quivered. Because your father knew something was wrong. He didn't tell me everything, just enough to scare me. He said he was isolating his records, and that if he didn't check in with me every 72 hours, I should assume the worst. Ava's throat tightened. He told me to go to the office, Lena whispered. To leave files for him there, things he didn't want anyone to see. He said Ronan would know what to do if he didn't. Lena's tears fell again, heavy and uncontrollable. I thought he was being dramatic. Or paranoid. I didn't think, she choked. I didn't think he meant he would die. Ava felt the ache deep in her chest. Grief mixing with fear mixing with something sharper. How long before he died did he tell you that? Ava asked. 8 days. Ronan swore under his breath. Soft, but sharp enough to cut. Ava's heart hammered. 8 days? He knew he was in danger 8 days before it happened. Ronan met Ava's gaze, dark, steady, and devastatingly certain. He didn't just know he was in danger. He knew someone had made the first move. Ava swallowed. Crane. Crane, Ronan confirmed. And probably the men working under him. Lena clutched her arms tighter. What do I do? I can't go home. I can't go to the police. They'll say I killed Daniel. And those men, they know I saw them. They'll come after me. Ava took a step closer. You're safe now. Lena flinched. No one is safe. Not if Crane is involved. Ronan looked at Ava, then at Lena, then back. A calculation sharpened in his expression, swift, decisive, protective. She stays with us, he said. Ava's breath caught. With us? Yes. His tone left no room for argument. Crane's men will be looking for her. And if they find her, they'll assume she told you everything she saw. Lena's voice cracked. I didn't tell them anything. I swear. They don't need proof, Ronan said. Suspicion is enough. Ava stepped closer to Lena and touched her hand lightly, grounding her. We're not abandoning you. Lena broke into sobs again. Ava wrapped an arm around her, steadying her as Ronan checked the hallway again, every shift of his body alert, searching for threats. We need to leave, Ronan said. Now. The longer we stay in one place, the more dangerous it gets. Ava nodded. Where? A safe house, he said. Not the one I planned. That's compromised now. But I know a place they won't expect. Lena trembled. Will Crane find me? Not tonight, Ronan said darkly. Not if he values the men who try. Ava felt a shiver, not of cold, but of the quiet violence in Ronan's voice. He wasn't bluffing. He wasn't afraid. He was planning. He guided Lena toward the SUV, positioning Ava between them, both protective and efficient. His body language communicated one message to anyone watching. Mine to guard. Mine to keep alive. Step closer and you die. When they reached the vehicle, Ronan paused and spoke low. There's something you both need to know before we move. Ava's pulse fluttered. What is it? Ronan looked from Ava to Lena, his expression grim. Daniel Price wasn't the only one who tried to expose Crane. Ava stilled. What do you mean? Ronan's next words turned the cold night even colder. Your father did, he said. And Crane found out. A beat. A breath. And that, Ronan finished quietly, is why Miles Mercer is dead. Ava's world fractured. The truth was clear now. Her father hadn't died of natural causes. He'd been silenced. And she was the next target. Ava didn't breathe. Couldn't. The air felt suddenly too thin, too sharp, like the world had narrowed into a single brutal truth. Her father had been murdered, and the man who killed him was coming for her next. Ronan placed a steadying hand at her back, warm, grounding, protective. Ava didn't lean into it, but she didn't pull away either. Lena's voice quivered beside them. You're saying, Mr. Mercer, your father, was killed because he tried to expose Crane. Ronan looked down at Lena, eyes grim. Yes. Ava's pulse roared in her ears. How long have you known? Ronan didn't flinch. Since the night he died. Ava turned fully toward him. You didn't tell me. His jaw flexed. Your father made me swear not to. He didn't want you involved. A bitter exhale. He knew you'd go after the truth. And he knew Crane would kill you for it. Ava felt her chest tighten, a hollow ache splitting open. So you lied. I protected you. She shook her head, tears stinging but refusing to fall. There's a difference. Ronan didn't argue. He simply opened the SUV door and guided Lena inside. His voice was low, steady, controlled, too controlled. Get in, Ava. We don't have time for this here. She slid in reluctantly, her mind spiraling. Tristan Crane. The man who had tried to cut her out of everything. The man who nearly collapsed in court when the will was read. He had known. He had known exactly why Miles Mercer died. The doors shut. Ronan pulled onto the dark service road behind the safe house headlights off, driving like a man who always assumed someone was watching. Lena hugged herself in the back seat, shaking uncontrollably. Ava forced her voice into something steady. Start at the beginning, Ronan. Tell me everything. Ronan's knuckles tightened around the steering wheel. Your father reached out to me 7 months ago. 7? He said Hale Global's offshore accounts didn't match internal transfers. The numbers were too clean, too precise. Someone was manipulating funds without leaving a trace, except one discrepancy your father caught by accident. Ava swallowed. A discrepancy? $30 million missing. Lena gasped. That's impossible. Ronan gave a humorless scoff. Crane specializes in impossible. Ava pressed her back into the seat, clutching her coat tighter. And when my father found it, Crane targeted him. Yes, Ronan said. Your father tried to gather proof, but Crane moved faster. He threatened Miles 3 weeks before the heart attack. Lena's breath hitched. But the medical report, Ronan interrupted. Fabricated. I've seen Crane fake worse. Ava stared at him. You're telling me Tristan Crane killed my father, then showed up at the funeral pretending to grieve. Ronan didn't soften the blow. Crane doesn't pretend. He performs. The SUV rolled silently through the back roads, avoiding the main highway. Ava spoke again, quieter this time. And Daniel Price? Daniel was the only other person Miles trusted. They were working together. Daniel got too close. Crane eliminated him first. Ava closed her eyes. Her father, Daniel. Lena nearly next. Crane was burning through every loose end. Why now? She whispered. Why escalate? Why kill Daniel now? Lena spoke up, voice barely audible. Because Daniel finally found the shell account. The one that hid the missing money. I was there. I saw the file name on his laptop before everything. Ronan's eyes snapped to her in the rearview mirror. What was it called? Lena blinked rapidly, trying to remember. I only saw part of it. Project something. Project Meridian, maybe? Or no, Project Seraphim. I think. Ronan exhaled slowly. Seraphim. You know it? Ava asked. Yes, he said, voice dark. And if Crane is using that name again, then the scope of this is a hell of a lot bigger than stolen money. Ava's stomach dropped. Bigger how? But Ronan didn't answer. Not immediately. He took the next turn sharply, driving into a wooded area miles outside city limits. When he finally spoke, his voice was low enough that even Lena had to strain to hear. Seraphim isn't a financial project. It's a purge. Ava's blood ran cold. A purge of what? She whispered. People, Ronan said. Every person who has ever stood between Crane and total control of Hale Global. And your father was the biggest one. Lena let out a broken sob. Ava's hand trembled in her lap, but her voice didn't. He wants to erase everyone who knows the truth. Yes, Ronan confirmed. Crane is cleaning house. And you, he looked directly at her, are next in line. Ava felt her heartbeat spike, but she forced herself to stay steady. Then why am I still alive? Ronan didn't hesitate. Because I'm still in his way. Silence filled the SUV. Heavy. Unspoken. Dangerous. Ava forced herself to breathe. She wasn't going to fall apart. Not now. Where are we going? She asked. A property registered under a dead man's name, Ronan said. A place I've used twice in my life. Both times when someone wanted me erased. Ava stared at his profile, sharp, clean lines of someone forged from violence and discipline. You think Crane will track us there? Ronan didn't lie. Eventually. And when he does? Ronan's voice dropped to something terrifyingly calm. Then I stopped running. The car went quiet again. After several minutes, Ava spoke, softer now, not looking at him. You should have told me he murdered my father. Ronan didn't respond right away. When he finally did, there was something raw, something unguarded in his tone. If I had told you, he said slowly, you would have confronted Crane alone. And he would have put you in the ground next to Miles. Ava stared at him. He wasn't apologizing. He wasn't backing down. He was telling her the truth as he saw it. You still should have trusted me, she whispered. Ronan's hands tightened on the wheel. I do trust you. No, Ava whispered. You protect me. That's not the same. The car fell silent. But Lena was watching them both, wide-eyed, silent, frightened, and she felt it clearly. This wasn't just a war between them and Crane. This was a fracture forming in Ava and Ronan. At the worst possible moment, the SUV slowed as Ronan turned onto a narrow gravel road that vanished into thick trees. The moonlight barely cut through the branches. Almost there, Ronan murmured. But as he pulled onto the last stretch of road, his posture changed. Head tilting slightly, shoulders sharpening, every muscle tightening. Ava noticed instantly. "What is it?" Ronan didn't answer. He killed the headlights instantly, plunging them into darkness. Lena's breath hitched. "Did someone follow us?" Ronan leaned forward just enough to scan the tree line, eyes narrowing. "No," he said slowly. "Not follow." Ava's heart hammered. "Then what?" Ronan reached under his seat and pulled out a gun. His voice dropped to a whisper. "They got here first." Ronan didn't move, didn't breathe. Neither did Ava. For 3 long seconds, the world narrowed to nothing but the whisper of winter wind sliding through the trees and the low, steady rhythm of Ronan's heartbeat. Too controlled, too quiet for a man who wasn't preparing for violence. Lena whimpered. "What do you mean they got here first?" Ronan didn't take his eyes off the tree line. "The safe house gate should be unlocked." "It isn't." Someone bypassed the latch from the inside. "There's a vehicle in the drive. Engine still warm." Ava's pulse roared in her ears. "Crane." No, Ronan's voice was low, lethal. "Crane doesn't come alone. And he doesn't come early." A shadow moved between the trees. Fast. Silent. Lena stifled a scream. Ronan held up a hand, not to comfort her, but to command silence. Ava leaned forward, whispering, "How many?" Ronan's jaw tightened. "One. One." Lena whispered, voice cracking. "One person did all this?" Ronan's grip on the gun tightened. "He's not a person. He's a message." A chill shot down Ava's spine. "Who is it?" Ronan didn't answer. He stepped out of the SUV without another word. Ava grabbed the door handle. "Ronan." "Stay inside," he said, sharp enough to cut. "Lock the doors. Don't move." That tone, flat, cold, absolute, was the one she'd only heard once before, the night her father died. Lena was shaking violently now. "Ava! Ava, what's happening?" Ava locked the doors. "Be quiet." But Ava wasn't calm. Not even close. Through the windshield, she watched Ronan approach the shadow standing beside the safe house gate. And then, moonlight broke through the branches. Enough to illuminate a face. Ava's breath caught. It wasn't Crane. It wasn't one of Crane's men. It was a woman. Tall. Black coat. Gloves. Hair tied back tight. Expression blank, almost serene. Ronan lowered his weapon, just a fraction. Ava felt the hairs on her arms rise. He knew her. The woman tilted her head. "You're late." Her voice was smooth. Controlled. British. Like a scalpel dipped in ice. Ronan didn't hide the irritation in his tone. "You weren't supposed to come." "That's precisely why I did." Her gaze flicked toward the SUV, toward Ava. Crane accelerated the timeline. "Seraphim is moving." Ava's breath caught. Ronan stepped closer, blocking Ava from the woman's view. "You shouldn't be here, Sable." Lena whimpered. "Sable? That name, why does that sound like a code name?" Ava didn't respond. She couldn't. Because outside, Ronan and this woman, Sable, weren't arguing. They were negotiating. And Ava hated the way Sable's expression softened when she addressed him. "You should have told me you pulled her into this," Sable murmured. "Crane won't stop until she's dead." Ronan moved fast, faster than Ava had ever seen him. He grabbed Sable by the arm and shoved her back against a tree. "You keep her out of your mouth." Sable didn't flinch. Didn't blink. She smiled. "Still sentimental, Ronan?" Ava's chest tightened. Who the hell was this woman? And what was she to Ronan? Before Ava could process it, Sable moved, one sharp twist, and reversed their positions, pinning Ronan with one arm while pulling a sleek black knife from her coat with the other. Ava slammed her hand against the window. "Ronan!" He didn't look at her. He didn't look scared. He looked furious. "Sable," he growled, "put the knife away." Sable held the blade at his throat, not cutting, just hovering there. A promise more than a threat. "Then stop pretending she isn't already in the line of fire," she whispered. Ava froze. Sable knew about her. Sable knew who she was. Sable knew exactly why Crane wanted her dead. And she was speaking the truth Ronan kept avoiding. Ronan finally shoved her off, stepping back with controlled force. "We use the safe house. One night. Then we move." Sable adjusted her coat. "No. We leave now." Ava felt the bottom drop out of her stomach. "Now." Sable's eyes snapped to her, sharp and assessing. "Crane's enforcer is less than 30 minutes behind you. You stay here, you die." Lena began to cry softly. Ava forced herself to speak. "Why are you helping us?" Sable's expression didn't soften. "I'm not helping you. I'm helping him." She nodded toward Ronan. Because he saved my life once. And a debt is a debt. Ronan didn't deny it. Didn't explain it. Didn't even look at Ava. Just open the back door. Both of you out. Now. Ava slid out quickly, Lena close behind. Sable stepped forward, boots crunching on frost. Ava Mercer, she said, stopping inches from her. Your father died protecting a namesake file. A file Crane will do anything to recover. Ava steadied herself. Project Seraphim. Sable lifted a brow. So you do know something. Ava didn't look away. Not enough. Sable smirked. You will. Ava's pulse hammered. Ronan moved between them, not protective this time, but possessive, like Sable had crossed a line. We're wasting time, Ronan snapped. Where's the extraction point? Sable tucked the blade away. For miles north. Off-grid. But we only get one shot. Then we don't miss, Ronan said. But before Ava could take a step toward the alternate route, a gunshot cracked through the trees. Ava ducked instinctively. Lena screamed. Sable drew her knife in a single smooth motion. Ronan grabbed Ava and pulled her behind the SUV, shielding her with his entire body. Ava's heart hammered so violently she thought she might black out. Ronan, who fired? Ronan didn't answer, because the voice that echoed through the trees made the blood in Ava's veins turn to ice. Tristan Crane. Mercer, he bellowed. Come out. I only need one of you. Ava's breath caught. Sable swore under her breath. Damn it. He came himself. Ronan's jaw clenched. Ava, listen to me. Another gunshot in the distance. Closer. I'm going to get you out, Ronan whispered, low, fierce, certain. But when I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't hesitate. And don't stop. Ava grabbed his coat, knuckles white. Ronan. Ava. His hand cupped her cheek, brief and desperate. I won't let him take you. Another shot. Closer. Too close. Crane's voice, smooth and amused. Ronan. I know you're here. Bring me the girl, and I might let you live. Sable's eyes flicked to Ronan. He's lying. Ronan already knew. I don't care. Ava realized with horror. Ronan wasn't preparing to run. He was preparing to stay behind. No, Ava whispered, grabbing his arm. You're not buying me time. We leave together. Ronan met her eyes, dark, steady, and unbearably calm. Ava, if Crane reaches you. He won't, she said fiercely. Not if we stay together. You can't fight him alone. He hesitated. For the first time since she'd known him, he hesitated. Sable rolled her eyes. Unbelievable. You two can flirt after we survive. A rustle cut through the forest. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Crane's men weren't 30 minutes away. They were here. Ronan's eyes snapped to Ava's. No more hesitation. Run. Ava ran. Branches tore at her arms, cold air slicing her lungs as she sprinted into the dark forest. Ronan stayed behind her, pushing her forward, not letting her slow even for a second. Lena stumbled but kept up, driven by sheer terror. Behind them, Crane's voice sliced through the trees like a blade dipped in poison. Ava, you can't outrun money. Or bullets. Ronan pressed a hand to Ava's back. Faster. She didn't argue. She didn't think. She just ran. Sable moved ahead of them, a blur of black, scanning the terrain with a predator's focus. Extraction point is east. River crossing. Ronan grunted. Crane knows this area. He'll anticipate that. He'll anticipate everything, Sable snapped. But we don't have options. A twig snapped behind them, closer than before. Ava's pulse spiked. They're gaining. Ronan looked over his shoulder. Not for long. He grabbed her wrist and yanked her sharply to the left, pulling her off the main path into a narrow ravine. Shortcut, he murmured. No, Sable hissed. That ravine bottlenecks. You're funneling us. Exactly, Ronan said. Ava realized what he meant a second too late. This wasn't a shortcut. This was a trap. For Crane's men. Ronan shoved Lena and Ava behind a fallen tree, forcing them low. Down. Head covered. Don't move. Ava crouched, heart thundering so loudly she thought the forest could hear it. Sable pressed her back to a boulder, knife reversed in her fist. Ronan raised his gun. 3 shadows appeared at the mouth of the ravine, Crane's men. Ava couldn't see their faces, only their silhouettes against the moonlight, weapons drawn, steps deliberate. Then Ronan's voice cut through the dark. Wrong forest, wrong night. The first gunshot exploded like thunder. Ava flinched hard, hands over her head. Lena whimpered, trembling violently. Ronan fired again, 1 shot, 1 hit. The second shadow dropped. The third man dove behind a tree and returned fire. Bark shattered inches from Sable's shoulder. She didn't even duck. She spun the knife once and threw. The blade buried itself in the man's throat so deep the hilt disappeared. Silence fell, thick and sudden. Ava's pulse raced, each heartbeat a violent shock. Ronan holstered his gun and jogged to Sable. "You good?" Sable pulled another knife from her boot. "You're asking me if I'm good?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Ava stood shakily. "We need to move." But Lena collapsed to her knees. I can't keep running." Ronan grabbed her arm firmly, but not unkindly. "You don't have to. Just walk. Keep breathing." Lena nodded weakly, tears streaking her face. Sable stepped over one of the bodies. "Crane's forward team is down. Main group will be close." Ava felt panic spasm in her chest. "He's hunting us." "No," Sable corrected coldly. "He's hunting you." Ronan shot her a warning look, but Ava spoke before he could. "Let her talk. I want the truth." Sable's gaze cut to her, sharp, appraising, almost grudgingly respectful. "Fine. You want the truth?" Ava nodded. "Crane doesn't need money," Sable said. "He needs control. Your father was the only man he couldn't control. And you," she stepped closer, voice lowering. "You inherited more than his estate." Ava swallowed. "What is that supposed to mean?" Sable didn't blink. "Power. Influence. And something Crane thinks only you have access to." Ava stiffened. "Project Seraphim." Sable nodded once. "You were raised around those files. Miles Mercer wasn't just a CEO. He was a vault. Every secret Hale Global buried, he carried. He prepared you without you noticing." Ava's breath hitched. "Prepared me for what?" Ronan answered this time, voice grim. "To inherit his war." Ava felt the ground tilt under her. But before she could speak, a sound cut through the forest. Not a gunshot. Not footsteps. Worse. Crane's voice. Much closer. "Ava," he called, almost amused. "You're wasting your time with them. You and I both know how this ends." Ronan's face hardened. "Move. Now." Sable took point again, knife in hand, sprinting between the trees. Ava followed, Ronan keeping her between them like a shield. Branches whipped at their faces. The forest thinned. A faint glimmer appeared ahead, moonlight on water. "The river," Sable said. "Cross it. It'll slow Crane's tracking tech." Ava hesitated at the edge. The water was deep. Fast. Black. Lena sobbed. "I can't swim." "You don't have to," Ronan said. "I've got you." Another gunshot cracked behind them. Ava screamed as a bullet sliced past her shoulder, smoke curling in the cold air. Ronan shoved her into the river. The water swallowed her whole, freezing, choking, dragging. Ronan vanished beside her a heartbeat later, pulling her up, keeping her head above the surface. Lena shrieked as Sable dove and grabbed her by the wrist, dragging her through the current. Bullets hit the river behind them, sharp splashes in the dark. Ava kicked, gasping as the icy water tore at her clothes. Ronan. "I've got you," he growled, voice raw. "Don't let go." She didn't. She clung to him as the river dragged them downstream. Sable fought the current like she'd been born in it, keeping Lena afloat with terrifying efficiency. Crane's voice echoed on the bank, faint but clear. "This isn't over." Ava shuddered, with cold fear rage. Ronan heard it too, and when they finally reached the far shore, soaked and shaking, he looked her dead in the eyes. "It ends," he said quietly, "when he stops breathing." Ava didn't argue, because for the first time, she wanted that too. The river spat them out onto the mud like broken fragments of the same nightmare. Ava collapsed onto her hands and knees, coughing water, shaking so hard her teeth rattled. Ronan pulled her upright immediately, his hands steady even as his chest heaved with exertion. Lena lay on the ground a few feet away, sobbing, drenched, barely conscious. Sable crouched beside her, checking her pulse with clinical detachment. The forest on this side of the river was darker, thicker, quieter. No sound except their ragged breathing and the distant roar of water. Ava looked at Ronan. "Is he still behind us?" Ronan scanned the opposite bank through the trees. He didn't see Crane, but he didn't relax. Not even a fraction. "He's close," Ronan said. "But the current bought us 5, maybe 10 minutes. Sable rose to her feet, water dripping from her coat. "Then we use them." Ronan helped Ava stand fully. She clutched his arm for balance, because her legs weren't listening, because the cold was a blade under her skin, because Crane's voice still echoed in her bones. She forced herself to focus. "Where's the extraction point now?" "Changed," Sable said. "Crane forced our hand. We can't go north." His men will be converging there. Then where? Ava asked. Sable pointed deeper into the forest. There's an abandoned fire road 3 miles east. It leads to a maintenance tunnel. The tunnel will take us under the ridge and out onto the service route. If we reach it, we disappear. Lena groaned weakly. I don't think I can walk 3 miles. Sable knelt beside her. You'll walk because you want to live. Ronan shot Sable a cold look. She isn't a soldier. No, Sable replied. Which is why she needs blunt truth, not comforting lies. Ava stepped between them. Enough. Both of you. She helped Lena up, wrapping an arm around her waist. Lean on me. Lena nodded, trembling uncontrollably. The group started moving, slowly, silently, every step a battle. The forest was uneven, the ground slick with mud and frost. Ava's lungs burned with cold, but fear drove her forward. After a few minutes, Sable spoke without turning around. There's something you should know before we reach the tunnel. Ronan stiffened. Not now. Yes, now, she said, voice sharp. Crane isn't after her because of the money, Ronan. Ava's breath caught. Then why? Because of what your father hid inside Project Seraphim. Ava swallowed hard. What did he hide? Sable stopped walking and faced her fully. You. Ava froze. The world tilted. Lena gasped. What does that mean? Sable's eyes softened. Not much, but enough to be startling. Your father hid something only you can unlock. A code. A key. A failsafe. Whatever it is, Crane needs you alive to open it. And he needs you dead right after. Ronan shot Sable a murderous look. She didn't need to hear that now. She needed to hear it before she starts thinking Crane is a man she can reason with, Sable countered. He isn't. He never will be. Ava's voice shook. What exactly is this code? We don't know, Sable said. Your father never trusted digital storage. He used human encryption. Lena blinked. Meaning? Meaning he hid the key inside his daughter, Sable said. Not physically. In her memory. In her habits. In her childhood. Somewhere she wouldn't think to look. Ava felt her knees weaken. I don't remember anything like that. You wouldn't, Sable said. That's the point. Ronan stepped forward, gently but firmly turning Ava toward him. Look at me. She lifted her eyes. You are not responsible for Crane's obsession. Or your father's preparations. You survived this long because you're smarter than you think and stronger than you know. Ava swallowed. But now Crane thinks I'm the key to whatever my father hid. You're not a key, Ronan said, voice tightening. You're the threat to Crane's empire. Because if you figure out what your father left you, you can end him. Sable nodded. Crane isn't hunting you because you're weak. He's hunting you because he's terrified of what you'll become. Ava's breath hitched, but this time not from fear. It was something sharper. Hotter. Rage. Before she could speak, a twig snapped behind them. Ronan's gun was out instantly. Sable's knife flashed into her hand. Ava grabbed Lena and pulled her behind a fallen log. Branches rustled. Slow footsteps. Deliberate. Ronan crouched, gun raised. Sable's voice dropped to a whisper. We're out of time. A figure emerged from the trees, stepping into a shaft of moonlight. Ava's stomach flipped. It wasn't Crane. It wasn't one of his men. It was someone worse. Someone who froze the air around them. A man in a tailored coat, dark hair slicked back, eyes bright with something unhinged. Ronan swore under his breath. Not him. Sable whispered, Ava, don't move. Lena's teeth chattered. Who is that? Ava didn't blink. The man smiled slowly. Ronan. Sable. His voice slithered into the clearing. Good to see you both. Then his eyes landed on Ava. You must be Miles Mercer's daughter. Ava's pulse spiked. Who are you? She demanded. He smiled wider, too calm, too certain. My name is Cade. Ronan's voice dropped to a deadly growl. Crane's executioner. Cade dipped his head slightly, polite, cold. Not just his executioner, he said softly. His successor. Ava felt her entire body go cold. He sent you, she whispered. Cade shook his head slowly. No. I came for you myself. Ronan stepped between them, gun raised. You're not touching her. Cade laughed, a terrible sound. Oh, Ronan. I'm not here to touch her. His gaze slid to Ava with chilling purpose. I'm here to take her. Sable crossed the distance in a heartbeat, knife aimed for his throat. Cade caught her wrist midair, twisting until the blade clattered to the ground. Sable's hiss of pain broke the night open. Ava! Ronan roared. Run! And this time, Ava didn't hesitate. She grabbed Lena and sprinted toward the tunnel path, heart hammering, breath tearing from her lungs as behind her. Ronan and Cade collided with the force of two storms finally meeting. The forest exploded behind her. A collision of violence so sharp it felt like the night itself tore open. Ava didn't look back. She couldn't. Lena stumbled beside her, sobbing, soaking wet, half frozen. Ava wrapped an arm around her waist, dragging her when needed, pulling her when the ground turned uneven. Branches whipped at Ava's face. Roots clawed at her ankles. Her lungs burned. But she ran, because Ronan was behind her, fighting a monster. Not Crane. Something worse. Cade. Crane's successor. Crane's executioner. Crane's perfect weapon. And Ronan was alone with him. A sick, terrified sound ripped from Ava's chest, but she didn't stop. She kept pulling Lena forward, feet slipping on frost, vision blurring from cold and fear. Ahead of them, Sable sprinted effortlessly, already bleeding from the wrist Cade had twisted. She didn't slow. She didn't speak. She just kept moving. Where are we going? Lena cried. The tunnel, Sable called over her shoulder. Keep left, move. Ava's heart thundered. Ronan, he can't fight Cade alone, we have to. Sable cut her off sharply. If you go back, you'll die. And he knows that. Ava's throat tightened. I can't just leave him. You aren't leaving him, Sable snapped. You're honoring what he asked you to do. Run. Ava's breath stuttered. Why did that hurt worse than the cold? Behind them, the forest shook with impact. The sound of bodies slamming into trees. Branches cracking. Something heavy hitting the ground. Lena screamed. Ava almost did too. She forced her legs faster, but frost numbed her muscles. Sable suddenly stopped, raising a hand. There. Ava looked up. A ridge of broken cement and rusted metal jutted from the ground, half hidden by vines and snow. An old maintenance station. Collapsed. Abandoned. And beneath it, a rectangular opening in the earth. Barely wide enough for a single person to crawl through. The tunnel entrance, Sable said. One at a time. Go. Lena hesitated, trembling. I can't. Ava shoved her toward it. You can. Go. Lena dropped to her knees and scrambled into the darkness. Ava turned to Sable. I'm not leaving without Ronan. Sable grabbed her by the jaw so hard Ava gasped. You listen to me, Sable hissed, eyes sharp enough to cut. If Cade kills Ronan and you are still here, he will take you, and Crane will win. Ava's breath trembled. I won't let Ronan die for me. Sable released her, voice suddenly low, raw even. He isn't dying. He's delaying. Because that's his job. And yours is to survive. Another impact shook the forest. A deep, brutal thud. Ava's pulse spiked. That was... Not him, Sable lied too quickly. Ava's chest cracked. You don't know that. Sable didn't answer. She didn't have to. Ava turned toward the trees just as a figure burst into the clearing. But it wasn't Ronan. Cade stood there, hair disheveled, breathing steady, a smear of blood on his jaw that wasn't his. Ava's heart stopped. Cade smiled. I was hoping you'd hesitate. Sable shoved Ava backward toward the tunnel. Down. Go. Ava dropped to her knees just as Cade lunged. Sable intercepted him. A blur of steel and fury. Knives flashing in both hands. Striking with expert precision. Cade dodged effortlessly. He moved like a shadow. A wraith. A man carved for violence. You're out of your depth, Cade said calmly. Am I? Sable slashed at his throat, narrowly missing. Cade grabbed her arm and twisted again, wrenching her shoulder with a sickening crack. Sable screamed. Ava crawled toward the tunnel, panic blurring her vision, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. Cade caught Sable by the throat, lifted her off the ground like she weighed nothing. Always loyal, he murmured. Always predictable. Ava's breath shattered. Sable. Sable rasped, choking. Run, Ava now. Ava scrambled into the tunnel, dirt scraping her palms, stones tearing her knees. Behind her, a dull thud, a strangled breath. Silence. Ava wanted to turn around. She wanted to go back. She wanted to scream. But a hand shot out behind her and grabbed her ankle. Ava shrieked, kicking wildly. Ava, it's me, stop. Ronan. She almost collapsed. He dragged himself into the tunnel entrance behind her, shoulder bleeding, face bruised but alive. Barely. She threw her arms around him. He winced. Easy, still breathing, but not by much. Tears blurred her eyes. I thought. No time, Ronan rasped. Cade is right behind us. Move. Ava nodded through tears, crawling forward as Ronan covered the rear. Lena whispered shakily in the darkness ahead. Ava? Ronan? Is Sable? Ava shook her head, even though Lena couldn't see her. Ronan's voice was grim. We don't know. Which meant one thing. Sable hadn't come. And they couldn't go back for her. The tunnel narrowed. The darkness thickened. Ava crawled faster, guided only by the faint echo of Lena's breaths ahead and Ronan's ragged breaths behind. Every scrape of dirt sounded like footsteps. Every drip of water like a gun cocking. Ava whispered, Ronan, what if he follows us down here? Ronan rasped, he will. Ava's blood froze. Then what? Ronan's hand brushed her ankle, a silent command to keep moving. Then, he said quietly, I kill him. The tunnel tightened around them, narrow, wet, suffocating. Ava's palms slid through mud and grit. Her knees burned. Lena's panicked breaths echoed ahead, every inhale a ragged gasp. Behind her, Ronan's movements were slowing. Not stopping. Not weakening. Slowing, as if every push forward cost him a piece of himself. Ava twisted slightly. Ronan, how bad is it? Ronan's breath hitched. Nothing fatal. Which meant it was absolutely fatal. Ava swallowed. You're bleeding. Tunnel's dark. You can't see anything. Ronan. A beat of silence. It's not good, he admitted. Ava's throat tightened. How deep? Don't worry about it. Ronan. He cut her off. Ava. Keep moving. She bit hard into her lip and crawled faster. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow plinks, each one hitting the ground like a countdown. The tunnel walls pressed in, rough stone scraping her shoulders. Lena whispered up ahead. I see light, I think maybe. Ronan murmured, voice weak but focused, the maintenance shaft. 10 more meters. Ava, pace yourself. Don't sprint. Stay low. Her pulse was a violent drum in her ears. Her heart ached at the sound of his voice, strained, thinning around the edges. But she obeyed. She crawled. Halfway through the tunnel, something shook behind them. Not a footstep. Not an echo. A vibration, like a tremor in the earth. Ava froze. Ronan. Ronan's voice sharpened instantly. Go. The tremor came again, closer. Heavier. Ava's breath hitched. Is that? Yes, Ronan said. Cade. Lena let out a strangled sob. He's in the tunnel? He's actually. Move, Ronan barked. Ava crawled faster, faster, until her lungs screamed and her eyes stung with tears. Another tremor. Closer. Ava whispered, he's crawling after us. Ronan's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. He's not crawling. A pause. A sickening realization. He's running. Ava's blood iced over. Tunnels weren't supposed to allow running. The space was too tight. Too cramped. But Cade. Cade wasn't a normal man. The tremors became impacts. Thud. 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 Ava choked on terror. Ronan, Ronan. Go. Ronan roared. Don't look back. Ava scrambled forward, clawing at the stone, fingernails splitting on rock. Lena reached the shaft first, an iron grate overhead filtering weak moonlight. She clawed at it desperately. It's stuck, it's stuck. Ronan's voice dropped to a deadly calm. Ava, when you reach the shaft, climb. Don't wait. Don't look. Go. Ava crawled into the shaft space. The ceiling was low, but a rusted ladder jetted upward into darkness. Above, the grate stuck tight with rust. Ava grabbed the ladder. Lena, move, I'll push. Lena flattened to the wall, shaking violently. Ava braced herself and shoved upward with everything she had. The grate groaned, shifted, moved an inch. Another impact rattled the tunnel. Cade was close. Too close. Ava shoved again, sobbing with effort. Come on, come on. The grate screeched against the stone, then burst open with a sharp metallic clang. Cold night air rushed in. Lena scrambled up the ladder first, whimpering, using hands and elbows and sheer terror to climb. Ava lifted her foot to ascend, but Ronan grabbed her ankle. Ava. Her breath caught. His hand trembled around her leg. His voice was low, raw, bleeding. Ava. Go. She swallowed hard. You're right behind me. Ronan exhaled shakily. No. No. Ava shook her head violently. No, Ronan, don't. Ava. He lifted his head just enough for moonlight to catch his eyes. Dark. Soft. Final. He'll get through me to reach you if I climb. The tunnel's too narrow. My body blocks it. Ava's eyes flooded. I'm not leaving you. I'm not. You are, Ronan whispered. Because you are the only one Crane fears. The only one Cade must capture alive. A deeper tremor rolled through the tunnel. A scraping sound. A low chuckle that made Ava's bones lock. Cade was steps away. Ronan cupped her calf with a shaking hand. Ava, look at me. She did. Through tears. Through terror. He gave her a small, broken smile. I told you I wouldn't let him take you. I meant it. Ava's breath shattered. Don't do this. Please. But Ronan pushed her foot upward, toward the ladder. Toward survival. Live, he whispered. For your father. For Seraphim. For yourself. Ava reached for him. He shoved her hand away. Go. Ava climbed, sobbing so hard she couldn't see, legs shaking, fingers slipping on the cold metal rungs. Below her, Ronan stayed. At the bottom of the ladder. Blocking the tunnel. Facing the darkness. Facing Cade. Lena grabbed Ava's hands from above and hauled her through the grate onto the forest floor. Ava collapsed onto the cold ground, screaming Ronan's name. But below her, in the tunnel, a voice answered. Not Ronan's. Cade's. A low, delighted whisper. Found you. Ava screamed. Lena covered her mouth with trembling hands. The earth shook. A sound exploded from the tunnel. Flesh hitting stone. Bone cracking. Rage erupting like fire. Ronan's roar filled the night. It wasn't a cry. It wasn't a plea. It was war. Ava collapsed onto her knees, sobs ripping through her. Ronan, Ronan, please. Lena pulled her away. Ava, Ava, we have to run. We have to move. Ava refused. I'm not leaving him. You already did. Lena cried. He made you. He chose it. He chose you. Ava's tears blinded her. Below, the tunnel echoed again. A wet, violent, horrible sound. Silence. Ava's entire body went cold. Ronan, she whispered. No answer came. Not his breath. Not his voice. Not his heartbeat. Nothing. Lena shook her. Ava, we have to go. Crane is coming. Cade is. Ava, please get up. Ava pressed her forehead to the ground, fingers digging into the frozen earth. Her heart felt like it cracked open. Not in heartbreak. In fury. Raw, blinding, consuming fury. She wiped her tears. Stood up slowly. Eyes blazing. Voice dead calm. He's not dying for nothing, she whispered. Crane wants me. Lena nodded, terrified. Ava clenched her fists. Good, she said. Her voice was colder than winter. Because I'm going after him.